Hi, my name is Amber Victory, and I will be presenting Chapter 10 in Skinner this week. The chapter is called The Inner World of Motivation and Emotion. Please bear with me, I'm extremely nervous, and this is like the 18th billion time that I have recorded this video. So we start off the chapter with Skinner interpreting the facts to which these expressions seem to refer as aspects of human behavior attributable to contingencies of reinforcement. It also talks about the complex relationships or relations that are broken into three groups: the consequences, the behavior itself, and the situation where behavior occurs. The other side of life, which mind is said to deal with, is instincts, drives, needs, emotions, and impulsive or defensive activities. This has attracted the attention to psychotherapeutic reasons. The two sides are not completely unrelated. The two sides being the intellectual side and the emotional side. A simple example in the book is an operant reinforcement brings behavior under control of particular kind of deprivation and adverse stimulation. In other words, feelings find expressions through action upon the external environment. Intellect is sometimes said to control needs and emotion, but it may fail from time to time. Sorry, I'm extremely nervous, so I'm kind of fidgety. I do apologize. So we're moving into personalities. Moving into personalities. Intellectual life of the mind has been fabricated on the pattern of life in the external world. The environment is converted into experience and action into idea, purposes, and will. A self or personality is at best a repertoire of behavior imparted by an organized set of contingencies. A young person acquired in the bosom of his family composes oneself. The behavior a person acquires in the armed forces composes another. So right now we're talking about a person that grows up and develops behavior from his family and then develops behavior from joining the armed forces. The two may exist in the same skin without conflict until the contingencies cause conflict. Conflicting contingencies lead to conflicting repertoires of behavior, but they are displayed by one body, by one member of society. So when we're talking about this, it's on page 165. And I found it interesting to where he goes next. He goes next with, I lost my page. He goes next with the body that behaves in the considerate way that most of the time is the same body that occasionally callous or cruel. The body that behaves heterosexually most of the time is the same body that occasionally is homosexual. So this was interesting to me because, one, I never thought of it this way, like is without, I mean, this leads up to what a person really is like without the effect of environment. Without the effect of the environment would be human nature. So without our society now, would more people be homosexual? Like, would that be the norm of society? Without, society, like, now everybody's saying that being homosexual is, it's frowned upon. Without that being there when we're young and everything, would we grow up and be more susceptible to the homosexual feelings? So I guess my first question for y'all tonight is, How do you feel about Skinner's statements about human nature? So the whole, the person that is mostly considerate can occasionally be cruel and callous. And the same with the one that's most of the time heterosexual can occasionally be homosexual. Like, what is your take on that? So still we're talking about personalities, and Pascal said that nature is only first habit, as habit is second nature. He anticipated current recognition that the species acquires behavior instincts under contingencies of survival, while the individual acquires behavior habits under contingency of reinforcements. So the book talks about Freud's ego, superego, and the id. These represent the three sets of contingencies where almost always shows up when a person lives in a group. So the ego is the product of the practical contingencies in daily life. The superego is the person's conscience, or their inner voice. The id is the man's unregenerated nature, which is derived from his natural take to reinforcement. So next we move into the life in the psyche. The life of the mind is said to require and consume psychic energy. Instinct is a sum. So, and then we start talking about more of instincts. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Instincts is a sum of psychic energy which imparts direction to psychological processes. In the 19th century, psychologists started to observe the sensations in the conscience. The different kinds of behavior are kept in the different compartments of the mind. So my example would be, my behavior is broken down into several compartments by what is appropriate at a given time. So like what would be appropriate behavior at work may not be appropriate for home, and vice versa. So I have behavior that's appropriate for work, home, school, with friends, and when I'm out in public. The best known division of the mind is between the conscious and the unconscious. The unconscious represents repressed wishes and fears. They may break into the conscious mind. And I read the wrong part. Sorry. Nope, that's it. They may break into the conscious mind. So then we go into Freud's defense mechanisms. So his defense mechanisms have been defined as personality reactions by means of which an individual attempts to satisfy his emotional needs. So we talk about repression, a process of ego defense whereby wishes or impulses that are incapable of fulfillment are kept from conscious. When feelings cannot be expressed, pressure is said to build up until an explosion occurs. Some explosions can be like aggressive outburst. I have a few students at school that when they cannot express their feelings, they tend to have aggressive outbursts. And sometimes you can see the pressure build up. We try to catch them before they get to that point. Sometimes you cannot. Then we talk about the conversation, the transformation of the conscious conflict into a equivalent symptom, a symbiotic symptom. And it talks about it not being mind over matter. Conscious is not the mind over matter. sublimation, discharge of instinctual energy, and especially that associated with pre-general impulses through socially approved activities. And then we move into inner causes. Many supposed inner causes of behavior, such as attitude, opinions, traits of character, and philosophies, remain almost entirely thoughts. Like, oh, I think that's why they're. Sorry, I'm lost for words. Inferential. Sorry, that's the word. Entirely inferential. A person who is angry but does not know why will say it is because of his feelings. So, why look inside? Internalization of intellect is fully matched by life of emotion and motivation. The appeal of inner causes and the neglect of environmental histories and current settings must be due to more than a linguistic practice. So, and now we're going into the uselessness of inner causes. And this is where I will talk about my last, this is where after I will ask about my last question. So, it says the exploration of the emotional and the motivational life of the mind has been described as one of the greatest achievements in history of human thought. But it is possible that it has been one of the greatest disasters. So my second question for you tonight is, why do you think that this exploration can be seen as a disaster? So my first question is, what is your take on Skinner's human nature statements? And my second question is, why do you think that this exploration can be seen as a disaster? Thank you for watching, and thank you for bearing with me. Have a great night.